Thank you, and welcome back to this edition of Helping Hands. And the guest that I have now is Sean Boyle, and Sean is with Children's Services Council.
Thank you for having me on.
I love Children's Services Council, so
good.
Talk to me a little bit about what you guys are doing.
Sure. Children's Services Council, we are an independent district, and we have 5 main focuses. Our first focus is making sure that every baby born is a healthy baby, preventing child abuse, keeping kids off the streets and out of gangs, keeping kids in school and off drugs and alcohol. And we do that through a network of programs that we provide in the community. And currently we provide 53 programs in St. Lucie County. We are exclusively for St. Lucie County, and those 53 programs each year reach about 32,000 children every single year.
Wow. So is there a Children's Services Council for every county in the state?
There's actually only, I believe, 8 altogether, but it's up to a local community. In 1990, a group of volunteers and residents petitioned the county to go on the ballot to establish a Children's Services Council. So in St. Lucie County, we were actually established by the voters in 1990. But there is Children's Services Councils in 7 other communities, but the programs that we provide are exclusively for St. Lucie County.
Are they put together by the people in St. Lucie County? How do you determine what programs you are going? You fund those programs.
Right. We provide the funding. We're the major funder for these programs. What we do is each year we do a report card for St. Lucie County. We've been tracking child and family indicators since 1990. So we see the trends of what's up and what's down. And based upon the need of the community, we develop programs and systems, and we put out an application, if you will, to the community to respond when we see a need in the community. And that's really how all 53 of our programs got established. But we work, not only do we fund the programs, we're out in the community finding out what works and what doesn't work and making adjustments to our system, if you will, to make sure that we're serving as many families and, more importantly, positively impacting families in St. Lucie County.
Now, I know that there was a point in St. Lucie County that infant mortality was rather high.
Right.
Through your programs that you've funded, can you tell me a little bit about where we've come with that and how we're working with that?
Sure. I'm going to steal a quick glance. In 1990, our infant mortality was very high, and basically infant mortality, babies dying either at birth or shortly thereafter. We have actually reduced our infant mortality rate over 60% since 1990, and we're actually at or below the state rate currently, which is tremendous for us compared to where we've been. But one of our biggest focuses is making sure that every baby is a healthy baby. So what we do is we work to, 1, prevent teen pregnancies, but we also work with existing pregnant women to make sure that they're getting prenatal care. And then one of the programs that we do, and it's very popular, and I can tell you of all the births in St. Lucie County, including Port St. Lucie, Fort Pierce, East, West, North, South, in St. Lucie County, 86% of all the births that took place went through a part of our system of care, part of our programs, because we fund a universal program. We've been doing this for about 8 years now. I'm not 100% sure on the date, but about 8 years. When a mother gives birth in St. Lucie County, they spend 2 days in the hospital. You know, whichever hospital it may be,
right.
North, South, Martin, St. Lucie, whatever. They spend 2 days in the hospital, and then they return home with the greatest responsibility they are ever going to have, raising a child. And a lot of times when they spend those 2 days in the hospital, you know, it's a little stressful. I'm a parent. I remember those very well. It's stressful. You know, most women don't give birth at 9 a.m. and it's wrapped up at 10 a.m. You know, both my children were born at 3 and 5 a.m. respectively. It's a little bit of a stressful time. Even if you've read what to expect when expecting, you think you've got it all down. It's a different reality when that baby comes into the world. And usually parents are stressed, a little sleep deprived, and they spend 2 days in the hospital and they go home. We have a program, and it's a voluntary program, and 86% of all births in St. Lucie County took advantage of this. A registered nurse comes to the home of that family within the first week of them being discharged from the hospital. Now that is important, one, because quite literally, and we have the stories of mothers and babies' lives that have been saved. A mother that was preeclampsia and didn't know it, or a baby that wasn't feeding and was having difficulties, but these new parents just weren't aware of it. So literally it has saved lives, but more importantly, they go out and they'll spend an hour to 3 hours, and what they do is they check on the health of the mother, the health of the baby, answer any and all questions, talk about breastfeeding, proper nutrition. I always say they check on the stress level of the father, because I've been there before, and answering any and all questions, and they're a resource for that parent. And we do that program because it's research-based to prevent child abuse. If we can get a family, a new family, to bond with their child early, to eliminate all the fears and obstacles, if we can get them to bond early, we've decreased that chance of child abuse for that family. And it's paid off. We've seen a decrease in child abuse as well as a decrease in infant mortality.
That's incredible.
But we don't just stop there, and there's more. And these are all voluntary programs, and what we found was most new parents, that first week, we have the nurse home visit to make sure that they're comfortable with their role as a new parent. And usually in that first week is when, if there's family out of town, everybody comes to see the newborn. Around month 2, 3, sometimes 4, everybody goes back to their schedule, and a lot of times the families feel isolated. And they don't know, for example, what to developmentally expect for their child. So we partner with a program called Helping People Succeed. It's one of our programs that we provide funding to. And they go out, and again, it's voluntary, and they will sit down with the parents, the mom and the dad, and talk about what developmental stages they should look for in their child as they grow. They talk about what they can do to ensure proper brain development, the importance of reading to your child early. They'll go and look at the crib and make sure that there's, it's crib safety. We've had incidences where children have gotten hurt because of crib safety, because a lot of times cribs get passed down. They go in, and basically they're a resource, and they'll be there for half hour to 2 hours and answer any and all questions that the parent may have. And then they serve as a resource. So as that child continues to grow, they can call that program. It's called Building Readiness Among Infants Now, or the BRAIN program. They can call them and ask them any and all questions. And they send them questionnaires so that they can check the developmental stages of their child. And we do that because, one, as we talked about, sometimes parents feel isolated, but it's so important that if a child has a developmental delay, if it can be identified early, if we can get them to the services that are needed, we can minimize, if not turn back, that delay. And if I can, I'll share a story, and it's a personal story because it was actually my son. He was not sitting and or standing and then consequently walking when he was supposed to. And we noticed it because of the ages and stages questionnaire that program sent to us. At 6 months, he wasn't developmentally aging or developmentally growing as well as he should. We talked to the doctor. He said, let's not be concerned. Let's just watch and see. Well, eventually, the doctor said we have reason to be concerned because he wasn't developing properly. He wasn't sitting the way he should be and standing. And so we were then referred to another program that we fund called Early Steps, that worked with children birth to 3 years of age on developmental delays. So my son had to go through physical, occupation, and speech therapy 3 times a week because he was that delayed. And there are hundreds of families that are taking advantage of this service. And the great thing is it's free for those families because our money leverages state money that leverages federal money, because otherwise a family would have to pay $75 a therapy. Now keep in mind, my son got 3 therapies 3 times a week. So I can't do the math that fast, but it would have been cost prohibitive. But because my son went through that, he was actually able to get caught up, not fully, but caught up enough to be mainstreamed in classrooms today. And he has a developmental delay and a diagnosis, but without that program, he wouldn't have been able to be in the classroom today if not for that Easter Seals Early Steps program. And that's just a sample of the 53 programs. But
interesting how you with Children's Services Council or being out there in the community, we never think that we may be in need of some of these services ourselves. You know, I can tell looking at you and, you know, and our interaction over the last several years, I would never have thought that, gee, Sean would need that. And so there really is there should be no fear in asking for that help. But what it sounds like to me is that the home visit is an automatic during the first week.
If they want, it's completely volunteer. Yes.
So, but they don't have to call for it. That's where I was going with that,
right.
Sean.
And whether either in the hospital or if they can talk to their doctor before they give birth and say that you want a nurse home visit, it's actually coordinated through all 3 hospitals. And then if by chance a St. Lucie County parent gives birth, let's say at St. Mary's for some reason, it'll be coordinated through there as well.
But do you have to know about it to have it happen?
The hospital will approach you.
Will approach you.
Right. But,
okay.
But you know, if you know that you want to ask for it ahead of time,
right.
Because, you know, like I said, both my children, you know, were born after hours of labor and hours, you know, in the wee hours of the night, and sometimes you're not thinking clearly of what you want and need.
And the fact that they follow up with the graphs, with the questions, so that we're aware, because unfortunately babies aren't born with manuals.
Yeah, and if they are, it's the wrong one, right?
Well, you know, and I was just saying to my prior guest, you have to have a manual for each child. You cannot have a manual per family.
Right. Because
each child in the family is totally different. So you've got to have a manual that goes with each child, and we don't get that. We kind of a wing and a prayer. And thankfully, in today's world, we have a lot of services that are out there. But we don't, you don't do just children. You do other things, or we're not talking about just infants and your programs.
Right. We provide services from children 0 to 17 years of age, and actually some 18-year-olds. And we also work with, you know, we always joke that, you know, we served 32,000 children last year, but we also, in that service delivery, was 30,000 parents, because children don't live on their own, clearly. And a lot of times, whatever the need may be, let's say a child is struggling in reading, and you know, the greatest indicator for school success for a child is their reading level by grade 2. So we provide reading mentors in the schools through Big Brothers Big Sisters. That's an example. We provide programs if a family is struggling. Let's say a child is starting to act out. Let's say he's skipping school, or maybe you catch him experimenting with alcohol or drugs, or getting into fights. We fund a program that works with not only with that child, but with that whole family, to mitigate that behavior and, you know, prevent juvenile delinquency, for example. But you brought up a good point, and if I can go back to it, you know, of these 53 programs, they're not for a specific zip code or specific city. They're literally for everybody in the community. Regardless of income level, location, makeup, they're available for everybody. So for example, after school programs, you know, every family can take advantage of after school programs. And because we were established by the community, everything that we have is available for the entire community. I think that's important to note, because you know, we were talking before the camera started rolling about the reason why you do this show is to connect people to what resources exist. You know, on our website, we have the list, the full description of all 53 programs broken down into those 5 categories. And you know, a family may not need help right now, but you know, their son may get suspended from school, let's say. What do you do with your child if they're suspended from school? Do you leave them home alone for 5 days in hopes that they're not going to get into trouble, or do you send them to Project Rock, which is provided by Children's Services Council, to make sure that they get their homework done and to make sure that they address the behavior that got them suspended? So, you know, we urge everybody, we've been on a big push lately to connect people to the resources. What we find is a lot of people don't know, for example, that, you know, if there's a new parent, that there's help available, or if my son or daughter needs counseling because they're starting to get involved in behavior that is not appropriate, there are free resources available to children and families in St. Lucie County.
I think that that is the important thing, is that parents want to reach out and never know where to reach out.
Right.
So hopefully, you know, we're putting out your email address and phone numbers so that you know, it never hurts to make that phone call and say, I'm in need, and somebody will find the right resource to help you through it.
And we've got, you know, we're a very small, lean and mean, well, not mean, but lean organization, but we've got our team there can answer any and all questions. And if I may, we have a resource directory that we've put out in the community. Now, we've had 30,000 of these circulating right now, and it's a full description of all of our programs. And we tried to take all the jargon out, so it's just, you know, this is what I need, this is what it is, this is where it's at, number, contact, all that information. But we've been fortunate because we've partnered with a lot of businesses and faith organizations to get that information out. Because, you know, we go around and do presentations. We've been to community forums, we've gone to schools, and people just are still not aware that their resources are available. I had we went to a school one time. I won't name the school, but we went to a school and they talked about the need for parenting classes. A lot of parents were saying, you know, I'm struggling with some issues, I think I'm a good parent, but just some more tips, maybe some parenting classes. Not only were we offering the parenting classes at no cost, but we were offering them at that school. They just weren't aware. So we as a community, and that's why I'm grateful to be here, is we need to let the community know about what resources are available. Because again, you know, you may not need them today. I may not need them today.
I agree.
But you may run into somebody who does, or you yourself at some point may as well. And
the fact is that this community is so good with their resources, and we do have so many things out there, and we try not to duplicate. So if you're in need, if somebody needs, typically we've got something that's going to help.
Right.
So I think that's great. So you're also doing.
We do.
Is this second annual? The music?
It's our third.
Third,
yes.
Oh,
it's our third. It's we have 5 priorities. I'm just going to go over them real quickly again. We make sure every baby's a healthy baby. We prevent child abuse. We keep kids off the streets and out of gangs, keep them in school, and off drugs and alcohol. Now, part of our big push is, you know, kids that, you know, let's say they get out of school at 2, 3, 4, but parents don't get home until 5, 6, 7. You know, you talk to law enforcement, they will tell you most juvenile crime occurs between the hours of 2 and 7. Well, that's that time, that unsupervised time. So we provide after-school programs for the community. When the school bell rings today, over 5,000 kids will be enrolled in after-school programs provided by the Children's Services Council. And what we do each year, because our after-school programs focus on keeping kids, making sure that they don't get into trouble, and a big focus on academics. But also they give them social and cultural skills, if you will. So a lot of our programs integrate music. One of the programs that some of your viewers may be familiar with is the Avenue D Boys Choir.
Yes.
We provide that program in the community. But the Boys and Girls Club, which has 2 locations, club site locations in Port St. Lucie, as well as many of the schools in Port St. Lucie, they have a glee club that they do singing and other things. They have a drum line. Future Generations, an after-school program that we provide, works on academics but also teaches kids how to play musical instruments. So what we do each year, we've done this for the last 3 years, we partner with a local radio station as well as the Sunrise Theater, and we showcase these kids. So they get to go out on the Sunrise Theater. This year it's going to happen on December 6th, and for the last 2 years it's been packed house, and they get to perform and they practice. And I can't tell you, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, the excitement of when, for example, Future Generations comes out with their 20-some kids and they play musical instruments, and it's a holiday concert to get everybody in the spirit, but it's also an opportunity to showcase and really celebrate our kids. And they in turn get to perform to a packed house at the historic Sunrise Theater. It's a win-win for everybody, and the good news is it's free to the community.
Really? So they just go there that night, or don't? I thought you had tickets.
Well, it's To get in is free. The concert is Friday, December 6th.
Okay.
The tickets will be available starting November 4th. They are free to go pick up tickets. All that we ask is that when people come to the concert, either bring an unwrapped toy or a food item, because we have 2 boxes, and the unwrapped toys go on one side and the food items go on the other, and they both go to, I don't think we've picked the nonprofit that the toys are going to go to, but the food goes to, I believe, Harvest Food and Outreach, to help families that are in need over the holidays. And then other than that, it's free. All that we ask is if you get tickets, show up to the concert, because we have had, I believe last year, all the tickets were gone 2 weeks before, but then it rained that night, and I think some people decided not to come, and there were some people that wanted to come but obviously couldn't get in.
Oh, that's too bad.
But it's a great way to kick off the holidays. It's December 6th, and it's a great way to really celebrate our community and our kids.
Great for all of that, and it gives, we know that that group of kids are goal-oriented and working towards something, and that's so important. You know, of course, my big push has been Kids at Hope. I think that we do a great job of that in this county, so it makes me really happy. Sean, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on.
I really appreciate having you come, and I hope that you'll think about coming back again.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And we'll be right back after this message.